The Carolina Panthers have finally, at least it feels like, finally signed wide receiver DJ Chark. It has been reported as a one-year deal worth a guaranteed $5 million for 2023. DJ Chark. These rumors have been floated out there all offseason, all free agency, that Carolina had their eyes on DJ Chark, who stands at 6'4", who can really run. This is a rare archetype at the wide receiver position, which makes DJ Chark always intriguing and always finding a home in the NFL. Because when you're 6'4", and you can run a 4.4, borderline 4.3, the guy can really run. He can separate down the field. He can make big plays down the field. He is a deep threat. He threatens safeties. He threatens coverage vertically. That opens up the rest of your offense. And that's exactly what I believe the Panthers are getting with DJ Chark. Now, he's had issues with injuries. There's no question. Last year, even with Detroit and what was supposedly, or at least supposed to be, a bounce-back season for Mr. DJ Chark, he did somewhat have a bounce-back season. You know, looking at his career, he began it with Jacksonville, where he had 1,000 yards in his second year as a pro. He had 8 touchdowns. He had 73 receptions in just 15 games in 2019, actually being named to the Pro Bowl. After that, he goes for 53 catches for 706 with 5 touchdowns. You know, these are Jacksonville Jaguar teams that are not good football teams. Like, remember that for a second. Then he kind of falls off with injury. 154 yards, 7 receptions, and only 4 games played in 2021. So he has a little bit of a bounce back year in Detroit with 502 yards on 30 receptions and 3 touchdowns in 11 games. But something to remember here is that in Detroit, he was playing with Amon-Ra St. Brown, TJ Hawkinson for a good portion of the season, and then you also had DeAndre Swift in the backfield. You have Josh Reynolds, who already had rapport with Jared Goff. And then eventually, the rest of the year, basically, DJ Chark gets hurt and then replaced by Jameson Williams. So Chark was really the third option, I would say. Third, sometimes fourth option within the offense. And it's not really anything to do with him as an individual talent. It's just the way that the Lions are structured and the way that Jared Goff plays the quarterback position. Jared Goff isn't exactly known to be a deep passer, I would say. He could still have something untapped that we did not see from Detroit, that we may see closer to Jacksonville, or he may just be what he is. That's entirely possible. But I would say that given the status of the first overall pick right now, which most people believe it's going to be CJ Stroud, and I've spent the last couple of days really watching his tape and seeing how good he is as a deep passer. I do think that DJ Chark fits with a CJ Stroud if that's going to be the selection. If their selection is somebody more like Bryce Young, I don't think that that's going to be the best fit. But either way, I feel like DJ Chark is somebody that still garners attention from defenses due to his speed and size combination. He opens up space for underneath targets like Adam Thielen, like Hayden Hurst, who you signed this offseason. And he can win at a separate level of the field from those guys. So if Hayden Hurst is like a tight end, middle of the field, yards after catch option, Adam Thielen is a short to intermediate option, and then Terrace Marshall is kind of like a big slot who can also play maybe a little bit outside and can line up outside and maybe win at the intermediate level more so than deep. I feel like Chark is the guy that you're missing in that equation. He kind of covers the bases, so to speak, for Carolina's offense. He covers the basis of Thielen short, Marshall intermediate, Hurst underneath, and then you also have DJ Chark going deep. And most of his route tree in Detroit was vertical, just deep goes, posts, comebacks, outs, deep ins. That's pretty much it. Occasionally, he'd run over the middle of the field and just stop and catch the ball. But a lot of what he was doing was kind of opening up space for Amon-Ra in the slot and TJ Hawkinson at tight end. And that's what his skill set offers. But he's going to also take that top off of the defense and really stress every coverage down the field. And if you get somebody like CJ Stroud, which is my intuition, I feel like that connection could be there, maybe more so than in Detroit. I'd also say that this receiving core is not as talented as Detroit. You don't have an alpha, demanding 100 targets like Amon-Ra does from the slot in Detroit. So I could see DJ Chark coming off another year where maybe his year was a bit shortened, maybe a little bit underrated from a production standpoint in the sample size, where he had still, 45 yards per game, which is pretty solid. Every time we've seen him play a substantial amount of games over the last 3 or 4 years, he's been a solid receiver, averaging 45 yards per game, 54 yards per game, and then his best ever 67 yards per game. So he's going to be floating in that area. To me, he's like a cheap number 2 wide receiver who's maybe a little bit limited as like an underneath target. He's not really going to be the guy running all the crossers, running the option routes, breaking off yards after catch constantly. He is the guy that's going to be breaking big plays down the field, vertical, and then also catching the occasional deep dig route over the middle, crosser, things of that nature from Frank Reich's offense. And he could also be dangerous off of play action, which we may see a lot of under Frank Reich in Carolina. So that's how I view the fit of DJ Chark. I've always been a fan of this player. I've always been a fan of him because of the size and the speed, and actually that one underrated year he had in Jacksonville. And he has the prototype of being a number 1 wide receiver. So 1 year, $5 million. You're getting a guy that maybe doesn't stay healthy all year, but when he's on the field, he can be dynamic. He can do some special things. He's a unique skill set, and you're going to enjoy him in Carolina. He also fits a niche, a role that you didn't already offer. Now, does that keep Carolina away from, say, drafting a wide receiver in the 2nd or 3rd round? I would say no, because Adam Thielen's older. DJ Chark's only on a 1-year deal. You really don't have any secure targets long term. So I would still, if I was Carolina, look to add a wide receiver through the draft for whichever quarterback you end up taking at number 1. That's my personal opinion. Carolina also went out and traded their kicker, Zane Gonzalez, to the San Francisco 49ers. That's an interesting move. Not really sure why that happened. Maybe it was a cap space move. I didn't look too far into Zane Gonzalez and the money that he was making for Carolina. But obviously with Robbie Gould end up retiring for San Francisco, San Fran thought that was worthwhile as a team that's going to be competing this year to have strong, consistent kicking. So it's probably a good move for San Francisco, and we'll see what Carolina ends up doing at the kicker spot. But your wide receiving core is looking a little bit more complete with the addition of DJ Chark, and we'll see if they continue to add in the draft. Thanks, guys, for watching. It's Mitch. Gronk, spike the like button and subscribe for more NFL free agency and Carolina Panthers news just like this. Peace!